Up guys, talk about printmaking some more, and we'll talk about how to transfer a design onto um, your block, and we'll talk about carving as well. So let me enter full screen. Here we go. Okay, so here's our linoleum block. Oop, ooh, and my very shaky camera. Let's see. Let's make sure that doesn't happen again. Okay, nice and sturdy. Okay, so we have our linoleum block. This side, I buffed it with just some acrylic paint. I just basically painted the surface. It makes things easier later on when you're carving. And remember, we don't carve too deeply, otherwise we damage our block, and we would like to be able to use the other side for something. Now, I'm using this one just as a demo because somebody rendered it useless because somebody was playing with their carving tools without my knowledge, and they busted a hole in this. But for transferring purposes, this will be easy. So I have a piece of tracing paper here, and all I did was I traced my design of a feather onto this paper using a nice 6B pencil, which means that the lead is nice and dark and also smudgy. So basically this will transfer onto here more easily. And all you got to do is take your design, flip it over onto your block, and just use your finger and push down really hard. This is the only time you should be aggressive when doing anything with printmaking, is right here when you're transferring, and like magic, it's transferred. Now, it's still a little bit faint, so no problem. Just grab your pencil, and then you can darken the lines and just kind of trace over them one more time so that you can see them a little better. Okay. Now, he has already learned how to carve in another video, but if you need a refresher, remember that you're not digging deep into the block. You never want anything like perpendicular. Okay, so this is bad. You are just shaving away the top little portion, that painted portion. Okay, and then the little shavings kind of get stuck in there, but that's okay. We just tap it out just like that. We always carve up and away from ourselves. We never carve like this. And I really don't want to see you guys carving towards yourself because this little guy is sharp. Now, my recommendation to you is when you do go to carve, I really recommend placing a really small nib. See, I have a number 1 nib in my cutter tool. Okay. And then I like to just trace all my black lines, carve out a little tracing around all my black lines, as you can see. Okay, because it's the black lines I want to make sure and keep. So I'm trying to organize my thoughts. A lot of people, their brain jumps the other way. They go, oh, let me carve the black. No, we want to keep that, okay? So just make sure and organize your thoughts and move your block around depending on what you're carving so that it's easier for you, okay? All right, very good. Now, I like to do that first just because I think it creates a little bit of an insurance policy around my design. I have the edges kind of carved out around my design, and those are delicate, and I need to be very careful because I don't want to cut into them and lose them. So I just carve around them, just a very small nib first. And then once that's good, then I need to just carve away the rest. And these bigger areas, I can change to a bigger nib. Now, this is my example here. I was working on Stewie. I carved around my black edges. And then once that was done, and I felt like I'd used my number 1 nib enough, then I changed to like a number 2 or number 3 for these bigger areas that I don't have to be as careful on. I could just, those big old areas of negative space, I could use a bigger nib. Okay. And then in the background too, I mean, I could probably jump onto like a 4 or 5 nib if I wanted. Okay. Because there's just so much to carve away. The last thing I will tell you is make sure also get the very edges of the block too. You'll get a sense why when you go to print later. It makes things easier. If we leave a little border and then we go to print, it's hard for the design here to contact the paper if there's still a border here. So making sure to get rid of that is a good idea. In fact, this little tool, this little nib can kind of help with that. It's kind of good for scraping away the edges of stuff, or so I think. Wait, is it the other side? There we go. Okay. All right, so that's it for carving, and I'll talk to you guys about printing.